gonna do what makes us feel right.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Soul Purpose Show. I am your host, Keith.
Hi, I'm Monica. We always try to get technical stuff together. We just, it is what it is. Go ahead. It won't die. It's charged.
It's not gonna die. We lost power to our to one of our electronic devices. So first of all, thank you for tuning in. Happy February. February is almost over.
Yes.
And so today you have tuned into the Best and the Worst show. We usually have the last Saturday of each month to give you the best and worst of that month. But we first of all have to thank everybody for tuning in to the Soul Purpose Show on Facebook Live, on YouTube channel, but most of all on In Touch News Internet Radio, where everyone is a star. Hopefully you enjoyed Straight Up the Middle with attorney Clint Paris and the other guy. Who's the other guy?
Professor, I'm sorry. Tony, I don't remember your last
name. The
professor.
God bless him. Bless him. You want to just do a bless his heart sometimes, don't we?
No, listen, I don't necessarily agree with a lot of his positions politically, but it's America. Everybody's entitled to their opinions.
Everybody's entitled to their own opinions.
And I'm serious about that.
Even if those opinions are really
I'm not even
far.
I'm not even gonna go that far. He's on the right, and we need in our country, we need those two differing views and opinions. Yes. We may not agree on a lot of different policy initiatives, and our politics may not align, but he's a brother, and he's sharp.
He is sharp. It's a great show.
So it's Professor Tony Seabrook. I know it's
Professor Tony Seabrook. Yeah.
Yep, I know it's right.
No, and we like, they're part of this In Touch family, so we give them a hard time. But hopefully you enjoy tuning in to them as well. We're going to take you into a little bit of a different direction. We're going to hit on politics, but we're going to hit on several things. But we're back in the Soul Purpose kitchen this morning. Why are we back in the kitchen this morning?
Because you made me come.
Yes, that's correct. Because it is the last weekend of Black History Month. And what we really want to do, what we need to do, is leave our viewers another tip on how to make a traditional African-American meal for their husbands.
Well, what about for their wives? So let me explain something to you all. This man bothered me all week. We're gonna cook on Saturday. We're gonna cook on Saturday. Dude, I got a full-time job. You get meals during the week. I'm trying to figure out what we eating tomorrow, and you worry about what I'm cooking on Saturday. That you're not really going to eat today. You're not going to eat this right now anyway.
I'm going to eat it right now. I'm going to eat it later. I'm definitely going to eat it later. So listen. So what are we cooking? I'm excited.
So he bugged me about what we're going to cook, and I decided I was going to cook things that I like. And so two of my favorite, plus a drink, because I'm gonna make a drink too. I hope that's okay, Daryl and Tammy, because I'm gonna make a drink on the show too. But two of the no, if I'm gonna make it, I'm gonna drink it. I'm from FAMU. I don't waste alcohol. So anyway, I'm making two dishes. I'm making my version of smothered chicken wings and greens. And when I say chicken wings, I mean turkey wings, and then greens, which are two of my favorite dishes ever. My mom actually makes that. She does hers with chicken. So the way I'm going to make it, she typically makes chicken and rice the way that I'm going to make the turkey. I'm just not adding the rice. I'm just going to cook the turkey separate because my son does not want rice. He wants macaroni and cheese, and I don't know what my husband wants. So I'm apparently a restaurant, and I take orders as they come in the kitchen. I'm a short order cook.
I want whatever you cooking up for me. I really appreciate it. Listen, February is a historic month for a couple of reasons. One, and I don't know if we mentioned this during our prior show, you know whose birthday is in the month of February, happens in the month of February?
I don't know, Keith. Whose birthday happens in the month of February?
My birthday is actually in the month of February as well. And it's only fitting because February is also the month that we have designated as a country, African-American History Month. We grew up calling it Black History Month for February. Now, it is the shortest month.
It is.
But there are so many historic figures like myself who were born during the month of February.
How are you historic?
It doesn't take anything away from
the other 11 months of the year.
The 11 months of the year. So anyway, so what do we got to do to get started before we get into best and worst?
Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I've already, brined this turkey. I should have done it overnight, but I didn't. I just woke up early this morning. And all brining is you wash your meat, obviously. Wash your meat. Again, wash your meat. So
she said it, I didn't.
Right. I mean, wash whatever meat you cook in, whether it's steak, whatever, wash it. So anyway, so I washed it, and then I put some cold water in here and some salt, and then let it sit in the refrigerator. And all the brining does is just kind of pump up the meat and make it juicier. So what I'm gonna do right now is I'm going to get my little sharp knife, and I'm going to cut these turkey wings, cut on the joint so that we have a drumstick and we have a wing. And I'm gonna put them back in here, and then I'm going to season them.
Now, when she says sharp knives, those knives are actual federally legally registered weapons, because where'd you get those knives from?
The Pamper Chef knives.
And those knives, if you've not used them, and yes, my wife happens to be a consultant, but if you've not used this Pamper Chef stuff, I don't even touch it. I don't even touch it because it's just ridiculously sharp. So when you're cutting through bone, marrow, I'm still not sure how I feel about my wife using and being so good at using these knives.
You gotta find the joint. Okay, so I've cut them in half. I'm going to, excuse me, take this now contaminated little knife and put it over here. Wash my hands since I've touched the raw meat. And I'm going to move. Sorry, I'm in your way.
No, you're fine.
And I'm going to take this off too. Wipe this off. Okay, keep
Let
going.
me look. Okay, so let's get into best and worst of February. We know that this month was kicked off with the announcement of, not even the announcement of, but the culmination of the second impeachment trial of our former president. And now, why was it significant that we impeach a president who was no longer in office if impeachment is supposed to be about removing a president from office?
Well, that was one of the challenges that was made at the very beginning of the trial. So I don't know if you all watched the trial. I watched it fully and was very engaged and involved. So that was one of the arguments. The very first, if you watch the trial, the very first day of the impeachment trial was actually what is comparable to a motion to dismiss. So the House filed a complaint. The defense, which is Trump's team, filed an objection or a brief in opposition to the complaint, motion to dismiss, essentially saying that the Senate didn't have jurisdiction because the president was no longer president, and the Senate really could not vote to remove a president who was already gone.
Let me tell you something. I am not an attorney. I watched attorneys on TV and could have done a better job than these people did. They were not prepared. They weren't given a lot of time to prepare because
it was like given a week. So in their defense, they were not good. They were not at all. Horrible. They were terrible. But I'm going to, that's not even an excuse, because sometimes you get things at the last minute and you just have to stay up overnight and prepare. I think they did the best they could with what they had. They didn't have much. There's so much history. What happened on January 6th was inevitable.
Okay, so the impeachment
everybody
trial,
saw it.
With the charges brought against the president, it was essentially that he incited the insurrection and he incited the violence specifically that happened on January 6th by his ongoing rhetoric, his lying, using his platform to gin people up that he knew had violent intent.
Correct. That is exactly correct.
And although we know that that's accurate, it's very difficult to prove in general terms, not just in a political impeachment trial, but it's very, very difficult to prove. So the best thing that happened is they impeached him and tried to stifle him from ever running for president again. So that was the best thing that happened. At least they tried. The worst thing that happened is what was the end result?
He wasn't impeached. He was acquitted.
So
which was not shocking to me. The positive in that space, though, was that I think there were 7 Republicans that made a decision to vote for to impeach and vote to convict. So, and
a conviction would have essentially said that he could not run for president.
Right. So that was the positive and that was the plus. But I was not. To me, I watched it. So some people were disappointed that he wasn't, because it was very clear how he was involved and engaged in what happened on January 6th. I was not shocked that it ended up the way it did, nor I'm disappointed, but not shocked. Primarily because he's never been held accountable for anything. And DC is still very, very partisan. And they are still within his clutches, and the Republicans are terrified of doing anything that's going to upset or piss off his base. And so they threw the insurrectionists, the people that actually did the deed, under the bus and said, but this dude that had fiery speech for the last 4 years was not responsible for I think 7 people died, 5 people died.
5 people died.
Wasn't responsible for what happened. So I wasn't surprised. I watched it more because I'm a legal nerd. I watched it more
But she
just,
happens to be an attorney also.
I watched it more for just the legal process and kind of how that unfolded and to listen to the arguments. If you are a law student or you're, or a young lawyer or aspire to be a lawyer, that was a very good display of very good lawyering and very bad lawyering. So that's why I watched.
I thought it was very interesting. So now what are we doing here?
So I'm just seasoning. I put some olive oil in here. I'm just seasoning the turkey. I'm gonna season it and then put it to the side.
Okay.
So I'm just seasoning it with however you want to season your turkey. It's not.
Listen, this is soul food and it's Black History Month. Put lots of seasoning on the food.
You don't put
season the food.
No, you don't put lot. Listen, Black folks, that's one of the things we're gonna talk about. There's 50 million people, 500 million people now have died from COVID, and a good majority of people are Black. And why are we dying?
The majority
because
of them
we have a majority of them, a disproportionate percentage.
Yes.
Disproportionate percentage of Black people are dying from Black and brown people from COVID. And why is that? Because we have underlying health issues like diabetes, high blood pressure, things of that nature. And so, no, you don't need to over season your meat. You just need to season it.
You don't need to over season it, but put some salt on the food.
Well, me and him disagree on that because he put salt on food. I don't necessarily, I'll put seasoning on food, but I don't want to put salt on food. But go ahead. I'm trying to keep him alive. Am I on your will?
And I appreciate it. Not yet.
See, I have to keep him alive.
Listen, another best of for the month of February was, I don't know how many sports fans are out there, how many football fans are out there, but the largest public event, sporting event in the country happened in February. And it was the Super Bowl, and the winner of the Super Bowl just so happened to be my hometown team, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, under the leadership of head coach Bruce Arians.
Okay, thank you.
And the very diverse coaching staff.
Yes, it was a very diverse coaching staff. I was very happy about that. I know you think that's my worst. His gloating was the worst. That was not the worst for me. His gloating was the worst.
Gloating? Just because I was pointing out the obvious?
Oh my gosh. So I've said this in the previous show. I am not a number 12 fan. I think he's a great quarterback, but I'm not a fan. And for various reasons, and I've expressed that already multiple times, so I won't rehash that here. But what was funny to me, I don't know if it was a best, it was just funny. So my office is downtown, so I was able to actually see the parade from afar. So I looked down and saw the huge crowds and all those people down there who were not wearing masks. So we'll see what the spike looks like in Tampa. But I was able to see the parade. It was actually pretty cool. Tampa's probably the only place where a celebratory parade can happen on the water, particularly in February. So it's actually it's pretty cool to see the boats come in to the river and get prepared to go to start the parade route. But the funniest part to me was
warm. It was 82 degrees.
It was really hot. So what was funny to me though was no one told Tom. It was 80 degrees. And if you're from Florida, you can't mix alcohol, water, and heat. You just can't do that and expect not to be drunk.
Especially if you're a rookie.
Drunk, particularly if you may drink, but drinking on the water in the sun in Florida is very, 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 very different.
It can have some negative consequences.
So,
especially if you shoot.
So y'all saw Tom throw the Lombardi trophy, which I was shocked that he did it across two boats. Yes. I'm happy the person caught it, but I felt bad for him actually. And that's large because I don't like him, but I did feel bad for him because when he got off the boat, whoever his friend was that was holding him up, it gets the Friend of the Month award, not the year, but the Friend of the Month award.
Yeah, all of us have a ride or die.
He looked like Weekend at Bernie's.
And he looked like Weekend at Bernie's.
Y'all remember Weekend at Bernie's when they were trying to carry it around the dead man? So the guy was essentially walking for Tom. And we got the boat. So I did feel bad for him. So I'm hoping that I'm sure he recovered, but I'm hoping that someone has shared with him.
Don't be taking tequila shots.
I'm hoping
in Tampa when it's 80-some degrees outside and sunny.
I'm hoping someone has advised him not to do that anymore because that never ends well.
And I don't think they have.
Welcome to Florida.
I don't think they have news coverage in New England. I don't think they have cameras in New England either because this is Tampa where cameras are always rolling. So he probably got away with that kind of stuff.
Well, he may not have. I mean, it's cold. In New England,
it's cold. You're not outside.
Ain't no problem. It's February in Boston. Once they won the Super Bowl, it's snowing outside. So you're trying to get inside, and at most he may have had a hot toddy.
Oh, hot toddy.
No hot toddy.
What are we doing?
Okay, so I'm just seasoning the meat.
Oh, okay.
Because
Because she's using garlic. Bless you.
Thank
She's
you.
using garlic pepper. Another positive thing about the Super Bowl is going into it, myself included. I really assumed that we were looking at a potential super spreader event on top of the Super Bowl. Now, obviously, the jury's still out on how many people actually came here and got and or spread COVID. But on a positive note, the numbers, the positive test result numbers here in Florida
going down
are actually trending in the right direction. Now, the CDC, I believe it is, or health department, they want to see our positive test numbers down around 5%.
Mm-hmm.
And when you get down to 5%, what that means is you have a controllable, it's starting to become more controllable. When it stays up at 7 and 8%, where we probably are now, it means there's just still too many people that are contracting it and too many people that are still obviously as a result testing positive for COVID.
So are we talking about the pandemic now? We moved on.
So we can talk about the pandemic. We can talk about the stimulus package.
Okay, so we're gonna talk about the pandemic first. So one of the worst, obviously, was that 500. We hit an unfortunate milestone.
Yes.
500,000 people have died from over 500,000 people have died from COVID.
So 500,000 people.
So, and all this could have been avoided. But the positive is that we have leadership now in DC who is singularly focused on getting these vaccines rolled out.
Yeah.
So, and so that's the negative. The positive is that vaccines are getting out. They just need to get in people's arms. And so I would encourage our community specifically I know that there's a distrust of the medical profession and healthcare amongst us for real reasons, for obvious reasons. It's a legitimate concern. It's legitimate distrust. And I would just encourage folks to get the vaccine. So we have one of the people that in Tampa who is like the face of speaking to Black folks and being honest and transparent about COVID and the vaccine is Dr. Kevin Sneed, who's the founding dean over at USF. So shout out.
He's dean of pharmacy.
Dean of pharmacy. Shout out to Dr. Sneed for really being transparent and speaking truth to us and to our community. Because I've heard a lot of Black folks say, I don't know if I'm going to get the vaccine. And my mom was vaccinated. I have a lot of other people who I know were medical professionals were vaccinated.
She was doing
so I want to hug my mama, and I know my son wants to hug my mama, and we want to get together and be around each other. Because it's been a year. So I'm strongly encouraging folks to get vaccinated. So the downside was the deaths.
Yes.
The upside is that we have leadership now who is singularly focused on getting that vaccine out. And I think Johnson & Johnson just came out with, I don't think the FDA has approved it yet.
They're actually reviewing it right now. As we know, there's a couple of vaccines that have already been approved. Most of them are 2-dose vaccines.
Yeah.
And they have certain care requirements.
The top, thank you.
They have certain care requirements around how they're transported and how cold they have to be when you transport them.
Yeah, the Johnson & Johnson one doesn't have to be in freezing.
It doesn't have to be frozen. It just has to be refrigerated. It has to be cold. It is a 1-dose vaccine, which is slightly less effective than the other ones.
No, that's not true.
No, it is.
It's not.
The 1-dose so far has proven to be slightly less effective. Not that it's not effective. I want to say the percentage was around 80-something%.
The efficacy rating, I don't know if that's, I'm not a doctor, so I don't want to say that. I don't want to say
we are not medical professionals.
What I know is that the efficacy rating, what they look at when I was been listening, what they said is that you want, when you talk about a vaccine, you want the efficacy rating to be typically about 50 or 55%, and Johnson & Johnson's is 80. So it's less than what Pfizer and Moderna's are, but I don't think it's any less effective in addressing the virus.
Take the vaccine.
And it also, from my understanding, has the ability to address the variants that are out there, the Johnson & Johnson.
Yeah, so it's not just the virus itself.
I ain't co-signing what he just said.
It's also I'm not saying it's not effective. It's also the variants that are out there as well, which are, and all a variant means is it's things that trick existing attempts to try to combat the virus. I will say this. I'm gonna say this about the virus. I'm gonna be done with it. As a child, I had the mumps and I had the measles as a child.
They had the mumps and the measles vaccine when you was a baby?
It was just being rolled out. It was just being rolled out.
He's a lot older than I am.
Well, then there's that. But then I had the mumps and the measles. And I will tell you that over the course of the following years, as that vaccine got rolled out, and I think I took, I think I had maybe early versions of it myself, and still got mumps and measles. But as that vaccine rolled out, what happened in our community is we sent our kids to daycare and schools, right? And before you sent them to school, you took them to get their MMR. You took them to get their vaccines. And and for the most part, there are some studies that say that, you know, people are getting autism now because of the vaccine. But for the most part, those vaccines have proven to be very, very effective because people don't get the mumps and the measles anymore.
Well, I will tell you that I asked because there's a chickenpox vaccine out now too. And I asked our son's pediatrician straight up, you know, I heard when he was little, he was getting all his vaccines. I understand that this, you know, vaccinations cause autism, and she shared with me, and I trust her. To the Howard grad, she said that there's no evidence to establish that. So
it's not
been proven. So this is the sauce that goes on top of the turkey when it goes in the oven. So this is cream of celery. We're not going to advertise for anybody, but y'all know the
Y'all know it's candles.
And then golden mushroom. And so you just put it in a bowl, and I'm going to get some white wine, and pour a little probably half a cup of white wine in here. It's probably a fourth of a cup. Yeah. And
probably about a half a cup.
No, it's probably a fourth. And then I'm going to season this a little bit, not much, because I'll put the turkey to the side so the seasoning can it can marinate in the seasoning.
Marinate.
And then you're going to mix this together. And when I get where I'm gonna pour this all over the chicken. Lord. See, I'm accustomed to making the chicken with this. So I'm gonna pour this over the turkey once I put it in the pan.
And now my kitchen smells like wine.
Well, I mean,
at 11 o'clock.
That's all right. It's gonna smell like vodka in a second. Oh, vodka don't smell. It's gonna smell like alcohol in a minute. So,
but
all right.
But,
so
it actually looks good already.
So you just pour this, as y'all can see that who are watching this. You just pour that. Once you put your turkey into your baking dish, you just pour this on top. I sprinkle with paprika and then cover it and put it in the oven for maybe an hour. You have to kind of watch it. I covered it first and then I take it off so it can brown. That's what I do. All right, so I'm gonna put this to the side. I'm gonna cook it I'm gonna show y'all what happens in a second.
So we talked about coronavirus. And we talked about the effects of it. So and I mentioned stimulus. The other thing that we can consider a best of so far is I consider it a best of because at its very, very core, the bill that has been passed now in the House, which is the stimulus package.
Just passed last night, right?
I believe it was last night.
Okay.
Was the stimulus package, the stimulus package, which is designed to stimulate our economy by a number of ways, right? Mainly by giving people money. When you give people money, they will take that money and spend that money. Most people probably are going to spend it on something. They're probably not going to save it. And by doing that, it's going to stimulate economic activity in the economy. Our economy certainly needs it. Now, at issue was the other side was proposing a smaller amount of those stimulus checks because these stimulus checks are not free. Somebody has to pay for them. And so what the other side claims to be doing is saving the country from more debt by reducing.
But people are going to die, and people are homeless. People need money. The crazy part to me about that position, and the other side's Republicans. The crazy part about that is they'll spend all this money on defense, and we're not even in the war. I get you need to be prepared, but you spend all this money on tax cuts, so their rich friends aren't paying taxes. But they represent the states that need the stimulus the most. Yeah. That's the crazy part. So you got people like Rand Paul, who represents Kentucky. Yeah, you have Mitch McConnell, who represents Kentucky. You have folks from Missouri. So you have states that, if you look at the per capita income of the folks in the state, probably is pretty low.
They're dirt poor white people.
And then
a lot of these.
And then they're voting against providing their constituents with some money to assist them in building the economy. It boggles my mind. It boggles my
Yeah,
mind.
and it's not, and the issue really becomes, the issue really becomes, how the money is going to be spent once it's out there in the economy, how that money is spent, because it is going to people to stimulate the economy, and it has to be paid for some kind of way. But folks, here's how this works. The individuals who got those big, humongous tax cuts under the prior administration aren't the people who are paying for the stimulus money. It is the rest of us middle class folks who pay income taxes and pay regular taxes. It is the rest of us who pay for the lion's share of what goes into revenue for this country. So it is a misnomer that they are protecting the country from getting into more debt. It is a misnomer. Right. Now, what is the right number? Is $1,000 going to do it? Is $1,600 or $1,400 going to do it? Or is $5,000 going to do it? I don't think anybody really knows that. We have no way of really measuring that. But what we do know is that people are hurting. We also know that the economy is hurting, and if you give people nothing and they continue to be unemployed and without the ability to generate revenue, then at the end of the day, that's okay. Before we go into
I do have a question. Okay, right now, so this is my pressure cooker. I think most people have. So I love greens, but I don't like it taking all day to make greens because I really like them. But you can make greens in a pressure cooker in about 25 minutes. So right now, this is my Instapot. Again, I don't want to advertise for folks for free, but this is my pressure cooker. And right now it's on saute. There's a saute button, saute option in the front. Right now it's heating up and saute. I'm going to put some olive oil in there, cut up some onion and garlic, saute all that down, and then add my greens have already been washed. You can do like your grandma used to do, which I have done before, is to get the huge leaves of collard greens and wash them and cut them up and let them soak in some baking soda. But I just go get the pre-cut bag because I don't have time to do that, and I wash them again anyway. So they're sitting over here being washed. So that's what I'm going to do in here. Okay. And then I'm going to make a drink on the other side.
Did you have a question?
I did have a question. I know that the $15 minimum wage, is that in the bill that's going to the Senate, or is it not?
Yeah,
I fell asleep on that part of the news.
Yeah, so the $15 minimum wage proposal is in the bill that was passed. But what happened over the course of the past week was there's an individual who is designated as the parliamentarian of the Senate, and that individual's role is to make sure that you're following parliamentary procedure with respect to what can and cannot happen in the Senate. And in the way these bills are crafted. And so it is out of order for you to do things in legislation that you are passing that is not within the rules. And so the implication is that individual's role is to make sure that, in this case, the $15 minimum wage is not proper to be buried into to this stimulus bill. So they're kind of two separate things. So that was the finding. I don't think that
makes sense.
That was not a surprise, obviously, to anyone either. $15 an hour minimum wage is a very heated subject in and of itself, because going back to fiscal responsibility, there are those who would argue that if you make a minimum wage for somebody who is making $7 or $8 now, and you give them $15 an hour, that whoever the company is that's responsible for paying them that on an ongoing basis will not be able to do that. And once it's spread across. And
that's a lie, because all that has to do is the people at the top can take a little bit less.
Well, what has to happen is, in addition to the revenue structure, which is what you're referring to, the other thing that has to happen is prices.
Which probably go up.
Yeah, prices which lead to inflation probably have to go up to meet the demand of, if I run a business and I'm having to pay my employees more, I can no longer charge the exact same amount of money for my goods and services. And so the argument is that big a jump will result in inflation, which has other negative.
Why don't they just trying to do it incrementally versus doing 8-10?
They would be trying to do it incrementally, but ultimately the $15 over the course of the time that they're talking about would represent a pretty dramatic increase over where we are now. So.
Well, that's why I married him, because he's smarter than me.
So listen, folks, when we come out of break, we're going to finish cooking our meal. We're also going to talk about some of our best and worst, some of our other best and worst, and we're going to do our in memoriam, which is what we try to do every best and worst show, talk about who we lost.
We'll be back.
Gonna do what makes us feel right. All day, I just wanna kick back and relax my feet. My best friend Sean is on the line.
Catch my show that will be all up in your business. Let's Talk Business with Cheryl J. Cuso. Every Wednesday at 12:31 p.m. My business experts provide insight for business entities and entrepreneurs. So join us every Wednesday from 12:31 p.m. to 1:31 p.m. at www.intouchnews.com. Catch my show.
Call Ricky. Ask Ricky. You need medical or a lawyer? I got the man to do the legwork for you. We tried the other ones before, so believe we hunted down 813-248-6300. Everything gon' be okay. Call Ricky, he coming. He taking care of state of Florida. Grab a pen or sundown 184-361-RICK. That's 184-361-425. Never word from the point forward, just recline. Just ask Ricky, push your boy statewide. Just in case you missed it, I'ma tell you one more time. 184-361-RICK. Call Ricky, ask Ricky, the legal and medical referral service. The doctors and lawyers in our network are trained in handling auto injury claims and giving you the best medical treatment and recovery. Dial 1-844-361-RICK. That's 1-844-361-7425. Ricky. Ask Ricky.
Wherever we go, we about to bring on the positive vibe. Wherever we go, we are gonna do what makes us feel right.
Y'all see in the bottom of this, all I'm doing is just sauteing the onion, and I had a garlic clove and I cut it up. For people who are watching, you saw me cut it up over here, and it's just sauteing in the bottom of my fresh burger.
Mm-hmm. Welcome back to the Soul Purpose Show. I'm Keith. This is my host, my lovely co-host Monica. We're in the Soul Purpose Kitchen again, doing our best and worst for the month of February, and we are cooking.
Ain't no we.
We are cooking.
Ain't no we.
You asked me to go get this thing for you from over there, and I brought it to you.
That's not that. You're a phenomenal sous chef. Thank you so much. I so appreciate that. So thank you.
You're welcome. So anyway, so we're in the midst of we're covering best and worst. We talked about a few things on the first half of our show. One of the things that you found, because you're a legal geek. One of the things that you found interesting was something that y'all remember back during the Obama administration, there was a Supreme Court justice nominee for an opening on the Supreme Court by the name of Merrick Garland. And under Mitch McConnell, the Senate Majority Leader, they decided essentially to not put that individual through the process for political reasons.
They didn't give him a hearing. They didn't get a man a hearing.
Yeah, and so what wound up happening is that role stayed open on the Supreme Court until the new administration took over.
Gorsuch,
and they wound up being filled by more conservative.
Either Gorsuch, or it was Kavanaugh. I don't remember which one, but it wasn't a Democrat.
Right. So, and most of the judges will tell you they're not Republicans or Democrats. They're independent, but they're either conservative. They either have a tendency to rule more conservative or rule more progressive. So, Merrick Garland re-entered the conversation because he was nominated for. He is President Biden's nominee for Attorney General. And what happened?
So I watched I think his hearing was 3 days. I missed the first day, but I did watch a part of the second day, and and the third day was like public comment. So people that were coming to testify on his behalf. So, or on his behalf or against him. I didn't watch that. But the thing I loved about Merrick Garland's confirmation hearing is that he is here. I believe that the Lord put you in spaces. He did not. So what I told my mom and my sister was delayed does not mean denial. So he was delayed in his in his confirmation for Supreme Court justice, but that's because that's not where God wanted him to be. I ain't trying to preach because I'm not a preacher, but God didn't want him to be there. God wanted him to be where he is now because he knew that the 4 years were going to be wreak havoc. So the last attorney general, if you were an attorney and you believe in the rule of law, you know the last 4 years has been horrendous. The DOJ has been a political space, which is not supposed to be. It's been used as the president's own law firm, which is not supposed to be. And Merrick Garland has said that he's coming to right the ship in so many words. And the other thing that was so expressive to me in that hearing was I've never heard in any Senate confirmation, presidential nominee talk about systemic racism. Talk about systemic racism, talk about that being his focus, talk about domestic terrorism and white supremacy, and that's his focus. And there was a part, Cory Booker was questioning him, and there's a part in the hearing where Merrick Garland got really emotional, and he talked about the why he wanted this position. He wants this job, and he said that his grandparents came over here running from anti-Semitic oppression, Nazi Germany. He didn't say that, but you can put two and two together. And he got emotional and said, this role in fighting domestic terrorism and fighting racism and fighting those type of issues is the best way for me to use my talents and to say thank you to this country. And I got emotional in my office.
So I want y'all to know what has happened here in the last two and a half minutes. And this is why my wife is better than your wife. My wife has braised the turkey with this concoction that she's doing over here. She has quoted scripture. She can ready to make a drink all at the same time, putting wine and vodka in the alcohol. She's what you call a Renaissance woman, and that's why I'm here.
Well, listen, I'm happy that at least I know. Look,
Ed talked about the legal goings on Capitol Hill.
My mama did.
Just a bad chick.
My mama taught both of her daughters how to cook. Erica's a better baker than I am, but Erica can cook too. She probably cooks healthier food than I do.
This is a little paprika.
But I'll be able to sprinkle peppers on there. But my mama taught us how to her daughter and her son how to cook. Look, ain't no guarantee someone's gonna want to marry us. We like to eat, and you can't eat, and you can't eat fast food every day. You gotta figure out how to cook. So I'm teaching my son how to cook too. So mamas teach your sons how to cook, and mamas teach your girls how to cook, or dad, if you cook, then you teach your sons or daughters to cook, whatever.
She mentioned how smart I am, and I know, and our executive producer, our executive producer has piped in also. He wants to come over to the house to eat. We ain't extended no invitations for nobody to come over the house to eat my food. But one thing we have in common, we are both very, very smart men, and we married women who are smart, talented, beautiful, and can cook.
Well, this is also Memphis. This is also Memphis roots. This is Memphis roots too.
And they both have Memphis roots, so maybe that has something to do with it as well. Anyway.
So, but Merrick Garland was one of my highlights.
Yes.
That hearing was one of my highlights for the month. And it's just kind of also poetic justice that y'all didn't provide him a hearing for the Supreme Court, but he's here anyway, and he's about to do the good work.
Yes.
And if there's an investigation to what happened, this other thing that he mentioned was doing an investigation or looking at, he didn't commit to doing it, but looking at what happened on January 6th and taking whatever the appropriate measures are to address what happened on January 6th. So
people going to jail.
Well, we'll see.
So one of the things, I don't know how many of you watched the movie Hidden Figures. Hidden Figures was an outstanding movie, but based on historical fact about Black female engineers and mathematicians who worked at NASA before the first space launch. And those individuals had to face a lot of persecution and obstacles just to be able to do their jobs and show, bless you, to do their jobs and to show how talented they were. So they made a movie about it called Hidden Figures. And something happened, I believe it was either yesterday or the day before yesterday, which I personally find had to make my best list. And that is the National Aeronautical Space Administration, NASA, in Washington, D.C., their headquarters has now been renamed.
You just found out this morning.
Did I just find out this morning?
I think so.
Or last night?
Or maybe I don't remember, but yes, they did.
The name is going to be Mary Jackson. Mary Jackson. Mary Jackson was the first Black female engineer at NASA, and that building actually sits on, we have to give credit to, this is back in 2019 when it was a bipartisan bill was passed to rename the avenue that building sits on to Hidden Figures Way. And so Mary Jackson, yes,
I didn't know that.
So Mary Jackson NASA building will now be sitting on Hidden Figures Way.
Well, look at the Lord. I want to do it every time.
And what did you say earlier about denial is?
Delay does not mean denial.
So
let me share you something with this. I believe that after 400 plus years of all that we as a people have been through, 2020 was a way to wake America up, hopefully. There was a racial reckoning because we were all locked in from COVID. I've said this before. So 2020 was an eye-opening experience for lots of people in this country. And when I say lots of people, I mean white folks who did not think that what we were saying was true. So not even liberal white folks, kind of the moderate white folks that saw George Floyd and other things that were happening and were like, oh my gosh, 2021, and we have to take advantage of this. And use this space and opportunity to speak truth to power and be unapologetic in our requests and demands to make our lives and our spaces and spaces and lives better. And so I believe 2021 and beyond is our year. And that's why, so none of this is surprising to me that, you see all these companies and ABC's doing like a whole month-long documentary about racism and systemic racism in this country. This is not shocking to me.
No,
it's past time.
It's a true reckoning. And I'll tell you, one of the things, since we are getting all religified, one of the things that I believe that God is calling us to is to exercise the courage and the conviction which we maintain and which we got from our forefathers, quite frankly. This is not the time to be making people feel comfortable.
Correct.
Not anymore. It has nothing to do with hate. It has nothing to do with some of our best friends are of European descent, our white folks, and we're going to have them on the. We're actually going to have them on the show. I'll give you a preview of that, which is coming up. But this is the time to have some real uncomfortable conversations, and not just amongst ourselves, because we've been having these uncomfortable conversations for years and years, telling our Black sons about how to act if they're ever pulled over by the police. And what's going on at work and being passed over for promotion. But those are hard and uncomfortable conversations. So we're already in that space. Mm-hmm. But it's time to have those uncomfortable conversations publicly. And so I believe that we're being called to, some of us at least anyway, who have a broader perspective on these issues, are being called to do that. So
speak truth.
And
it's gonna be uncomfortable, but that's okay. Sometimes the Lord will shake you up a little bit and make you uncomfortable because there's something better on the other side.
What are we doing now?
So I just put some smoked turkey necks in here. I don't do pork in my greens, but do what you season how you want. I don't do pork in greens. And so typically I would mix these with kale, but I didn't do that. So
we have a traditional Black folks. Did Black people know anything about kale before?
They may have.
Before the 90s?
They may have.
I never heard.
Just because you never heard it doesn't mean they know nothing about it. So they may have. I didn't know anything about it, but I'm sure there's some people that do cook with kale. I do like kale. It's a little tougher and it requires just a little bit more work when you're working with it. But okay, so I've put the smoked turkey in here. I've put the rest of the greens on top of the smoked turkey necks. I'm going to add this chicken broth to this. The greens create their own juice, for lack of a better phrase. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my little top on here.
Yeah, that thing is pretty loud. You gonna start that?
It is. I am gonna start it now.
Well, how are we supposed to be?
It's not loud. It's not loud once I put it on. See, it was not loud. You have to make sure that it's on close, and you're going to do pressure level. Turn this off from the pressure cooker, and then you're going to increase the time to about, I'm going to do 25 minutes. I'll do 30 minutes.
Don't burn up.
Ain't nobody going to burn no greens up. I'll put some more water in it before I push play. Push go. Okay, go ahead. Keep talking.
Okay, so listen. One of the quick point that I wanted to make during we were talking about pandemic and during the vaccine effort. So if you guys remember, what President Biden set out to do was during his first 100 days, he had some goals, he had some plans. One of those was to roll out 100 million doses of the vaccine during his first 100 days. And what that would essentially do is of all of the, because that's really a quarter of the United States population, will get us to a place where we can get on the other side of the number of people who were vaccinated and protected against spreading the virus. So that was a goal that was set out. So one of my best of is, as it turns out, and I'm going to talk about the politicization.
Politicization. I don't know.
Okay. Well, we're talking about that too. But one of the positive things that has come out of this is, in spite of everything that you're hearing, is we're actually ahead of that schedule from a vaccine. So the vaccination rollout so far is a success. I don't care what people are telling you, people are saying, but the fact that we have the number of people, it's 50 million, by the way. So we've hit the 50 million threshold of the 100 million goal that he set out in his first 100 days, because it's not 50 days into it. So we're actually ahead of schedule in terms of the rollout of the vaccine. That's what makes this Johnson & Johnson, the addition of the Johnson & Johnson vaccine so significant, is because if we can get at least one additional vaccine approved for distribution, it will speed up that timeline even more.
That's why we're telling y'all, get the vaccine. I do want to say,
the vaccine.
We finished?
Yes, go ahead.
So I do want to say one of my worst is local, not kind of local. So, I think that Florida's not doing the best job of, Florida leadership is not doing the best job of rolling out the vaccinations. And there was some criticism and some issues, and my words not coming to me right now, with the way the vaccine was being distributed, specifically that in Manatee County and some other counties, the leadership of this state was focusing the vaccine on for political purposes and getting those people who in areas and spaces that supported the current governor, those folks were getting the vaccine first. And one specific issue was in Manatee County, where some rich folks got the vaccine. The poor folks in Manatee County did not get the vaccine, did not have access to the vaccine, and the county commissioners were unaware that this was going on, with the exception of one. And there's a big kerfuffle about it. And apparently Charlie Crist they're pushing to do some type of investigation about how and what the process was for determining who's going to get the vaccine. So I think I think more Black folks are open and desiring to get it. I think the challenge is access to it. Yes. So it's not necessarily the fact that we don't want it, it is access to it and the way access is being rolled out and how it's being rolled out, which is allegedly disparately being applied.
Oh, it's not allegedly. It absolutely.
I was trying to be as politically correct as I could be, but he's not vaccinating no Black people.
This started out with having Publix as one of the designees, if you will, to be a vaccination center.
That was the first controversy.
And we're not anti Publix.
I'm sure not
at all. But the issue is, the real issue is that the people who are most, just like anything else, disparately affected by this virus, honestly, probably don't even shop at Publix, and because there's not a lot.
There's not a Publix like.
Or there's not a Publix close to.
I'll give you an example, like a hometown example. So I'm from South Florida originally, and I know there was an issue with the Glades area not getting any vaccines out there. And anybody knows anything about the Glades area? Glades is pretty poor. And so, but the folks on the East Coast in Palm Beach County had access to it, because that's where Publix are, because I don't know if there's a Publix in the Glades area. There may be one. I don't know that specifically, but I don't remember seeing too many Publixes out there. So I know that was a huge controversy at the very beginning. So hopefully that's moving. But the rollout of the vaccine in Florida has not been the best. That's probably one of my worst in February, but I'm hopeful that with like Biden introduced, that one of the things he's going to do is they're going to have these traveling pop-up these pop-up vaccination sites, and the goal for those pop-up vaccination sites is to put those vaccination sites in
communities that they really need to be
which
in.
would be our communities.
So one of the things I was going to say, what I was going to say is before you start on the drink, because I want you to explain drink, is quick shout out before we get into the whole liquor part of our show to our home church, Love First Christian Center. They just are breaking ground on their expansion.
How you gonna shout? I think you do shout at our church, but how you gonna shout at the church before I make a drink?
Because I wanted to get that out of the way, and put this caveat out there that this is not sanctioned by a pastor at all. But I do want to give them a shout out because we love them dearly. Congratulations!
They are breaking ground.
Congratulations to our church because we're doing it, and we're doing it without taking out a big mortgage. So we're doing it. God has really been.
Absolutely. You know, sometimes I think you kind of set me up, and I think, okay, that's really nice, and then you set me up and then shade me.
No, I'm not shading you. I'm just saying before we even get to all of this, I just wanted to get that over with and make sure people knew that they are not endorsing this next segment of our.
We are both over 21. I'm not. The issue is in the excess of the alcohol, not in the consumption. And there's some pastors may disagree with that, but I'm not going to quote scripture. But shoot, it's the excess and the drunkenness that is the problem, not necessarily the drinking of the spirit.
What are we making?
Okay, so a couple years ago, me and some girlfriends went over to a restaurant and. We like to try different. I like spicy. I don't like too spicy, but I do like spicy. And we went to this restaurant and we saw this strawberry jalapeno martini on the menu, right? And so I thought, oh, that's really, really good. So I said, I'm gonna try it. So I tried it. So I've done it before, but I did it as a margarita versus as a martini. So margarita is tequila. You can make martinis with vodka or gin. I don't do gin, so this is a vodka martini. And I hope DJ CEO that this is okay, me doing this on the show, but
we're not condoning
underage drinking, but if you are grown and you're a responsible adult, it is COVID, it is a pandemic, you feel free to make yourself happy and you have a cocktail. So at any rate, so it's a strawberry jalapeno martini, and you don't really like sweet.
I don't like sweet.
Did you have this? You didn't like spice. You don't like jalapeno. So he didn't have one. I made one last night. He didn't want one. But this is super, super easy to make. If you don't like spice in your drinks, because it's a sweet and spicy. So if you don't like spice in your drink, make sure you take the seeds out of the jalapeno because that's where all the spice is. If you like spicy, then when I do this, you're going to keep your seeds in your drink when you muddle it. Okay, so the first thing you're going to do is you're going to get a strawberry. And you're going to cut the top stem off, and you're going to cut it in half or cut it in thirds, whatever. You're going to put it in the bottom of your mixer, and you can do 2 if you want, 2 strawberries. And it is strawberry season. And for those, as my husband said earlier, I'm a Pamper Chef consultant. If you want to follow me on Mealtime with Monica, I am devoting the month of March to all things strawberry because Strawberry Festival would be here. We got 5 minutes into the show. Let me hurry do this. All right, so you get your strawberries, you get your jalapeno. As you can see, I got the jalapeno. All right, we're gonna cut a slice of the jalapeno, put that in the bottom of your mixer. You're gonna get your muddler. You're gonna squish the. You can see.
We ain't never claimed not to be bougie here on the Soul Purpose Show.
So you got your muddler. And
we got muddlers.
You can smell the jalapeno coming up. You muddle all that together if you can see. So you got your.
Or you can use a stick.
Well, I'm not gonna sell that. Jalapeno and your strawberry. You're gonna take a lime. You're gonna cut your lime in half. Get you a juicer. Open that bad baby up. Get your lime.
That's a juicer.
You're gonna your citrus press. You're going to squeeze that lime juice, just a little bit in there, not much. Some of that lime juice in there. Woo. And then you're going to get some simple syrup. Don't buy simple syrup. Simple syrup is $4 in this grocery store. Do not buy simple syrup. Simple syrup is 1 part water, 1 part sugar. So get a cup of water, a cup of sugar, put it in the pan, boil it, dissolve it. You got your own simple syrup. You're going to do like an ounce of simple syrup. Pour that in there in the bottom of your shaker. And you're going to get your vodka. You're going to do 2 ounces of vodka. And
you put 3 ounces in here?
You can do 2. You can, baby, I can do whatever you want to do. I can do 3.
I'm not.
I'll do 2.5. All right. So we have 2.5 of that. You're gonna put some ice in your shaker. I'm trying to hurry up, DJ CEO.
Well, I tell you what, before we leave,
do that. Okay, so put the ice on there. Go ahead, shake. Go ahead.
So listen, I want to talk about voter suppression because this is what I want to leave y'all with in addition to our in memoriam. Voter suppression. There have been over 100 bills introduced in the last 2 months around efforts to restrict people from voting. Over 100 across 28 different states. Y'all need to be vigilant. Pay attention to what's happening in your localities and in your states with respect to voter ID laws, voter restricting laws, pre-registration laws, et cetera, because they're going after your right to vote.
Okay, so I've muddled. I put the you saw me shake it. Shake vodka with the simple syrup. You're gonna pour it into a wonderful martini glass like that. Y'all can see it. You're gonna get a slice just for garnish. Get a slice of your jalapeno, small slice right there. You're gonna put that in there like that. And then you're gonna get you a strawberry. You can keep the top on if you want. And you're gonna slice the strawberry there and put it on the side of your.
Oh, look at that!
Put it on the side of your martini
put
glass.
It on the martini glass, so it looks all pretty.
Done.
It is with great sadness that we close our best and worst of every month with our in memoriam. We lost a couple people this month. We lost more than a couple people, obviously, but I did want to bring up just a couple of them. Mary Wilson of the Supremes.
Yeah, that was a shocker.
Yeah, legendary female, the first mega female group of all times. They had string after a string of #1 hits. So we just wanted to shout them out. Some of us are old enough to remember the Fat Boys.
Oh, that's right.
Okay, Human Beatbox, he's already passed away. But Prince Marky D was another member of the Fat Boys that we lost this week. He was young too. I think he was around 52.
Yeah.
Some of y'all don't remember Leon Spinks. Leon Spinks actually beat Muhammad Ali and shocked the world. He shocked the world because now Muhammad was already kind of but Leon Spinks was a boxer who also passed away. And I think that's it. I think that was it.
Did Cicely Tyson death?
That was in January.
Okay. Well,
but anyway.
Well,
that's in memoriam. God bless. God rest their souls. And
we are praying for our family.
Yes.
In this moment, and so we are just praying for our family. Y'all pray for our family too. We've had some medical issues and some of our family members. Keith's grandmother actually turned 102.
My grandmother turned 102 years old.
Last week.
This month.
Last week.
God bless her. So listen, folks, stay safe out there. COVID is still out there. Vaccines or no vaccines, please remain safe. Distance yourselves. Wear your mask.
Please.
Wear your mask, please.
Get vaccinated. When it comes time for us to get vaccinated,
please do.
Please get vaccinated, you all. And wear your mask still in between. We're trying to get over the hump with this.
This is Soul Purpose Show. Thank you for tuning in. I'm Keith, Monica on In Touch News Internet Radio.